Hello and welcome to Sunshine for Your Life. Lately we seem to be having a lot of bad storms, maybe more so than what we're used to having. And I remember a terrible thunderstorm that rose up while I was still in high school. I happened to be home alone with my very large collie, a very beautiful but very large dog. As the storm hovered around my house, I heard the loudest crack of thunder I have ever heard in my life. My terrified dog crawled in my lap, and I held her for a while. Then I put her down gently and went into the kitchen because it seemed to me that the lightning strike must have happened there. I brushed my hand against the stove. It wasn't on and I was not planning to put it on, but I happened to brush my hand against the stove and things went black for a while. And I woke up and I realized that I had been thrown across the kitchen and landed next to the sink. That's quite a distance. We had a large kitchen. It turned out that our house had been hit, and the fire department came, and we had to have all appliances checked by an electrician before using anything in the house. But there were two miracles that happened that day. First of all, I was not hurt. I could have been killed, and there was no fire. We could have had a house fire. None of those things occurred. Now, I've been in many bad storms. Once I went through a straight down burst or possibly a small tornado, and there were branches everywhere, down everywhere, police cars everywhere. Nothing touched my car, and there was a path that I could just drive through to continue on my way. The police led me through that path, and it was really nothing, so I had no problem there. And once when I was driving through a snowstorm, and I was a couple of hours away from home, it snowed everywhere. It was a bad storm, but it never snowed on the place where I was driving. So I drove on dry land in the middle of a bad snowstorm. So that was a miracle in itself. I could go on, but if you look back, you can remember times when you have been spared and had close calls, and you've been thankful that you had been spared. We can all thank God for our protection. It causes us to reflect on the scriptures that remind us that God protects us daily. Now, the scriptures of Psalm 91 reassure us that God is with us, and I'm going to start reading off three scriptures. And the first one is Psalm 91, verse 4, and it says, "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust." Let me read that again. "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust." Now it goes on to say, and this won't be on the screen, that he is our shield and our buckler, so the verse is a little bit longer than what I read off. And can't you imagine baby birds hovering around underneath their mother's wings, and you see it in nature all the time, and being really secure because nothing's going to happen to them. They are going to be all right. Now this psalm goes on, and in verse it will be Psalm 91, 5 and 6, and I'll read part of it. The part of it that I read will be on the screen, and I'll go back and finish the rest of it because it's a little too long to put all of it on the screen. So Psalm 91, 5 and 6 says this: "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day." Let me read that again. "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day." Now this is how it continues, so I'm going to read that's on the screen and continue until the end of that verse. "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday." Now this is all King James Version, but it's saying we will be protected from terror. What happens at night will not have to terrorize that. We don't have to be afraid of arrows. We don't have to be afraid of illnesses because God is going to take care of us through all of that. And the third verse comes from Psalm 91, 11, and this is what it says, Psalm 91, 11. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. In other words, he's going to take care of you no matter where you are. He will give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. Now I'm going to continue. This is not going to be on the screen, but I'm going to continue to read verses 14 through 16 of Psalm 91. And here again, this is going to be the King James Version. Because he hath set his love on me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him with long life, and I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Now this is God talking about people who are believers, talking about his own servants. So I'll read that part again. Because he, people who worship him, set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him with long life, and will satisfy him and show him my salvation. So that's quite a verse. If you take those verses together, those verses are very hopeful in terms of what God does to help us, to keep us safe, to stay with us, to fight our battles for us, to take care of us. If you are discouraged about what's going on in your life, I would suggest that you read Psalm 91, because it is a marvelous verse. God has known you from before your birth and has protected you your whole life, and the psalm makes that clear. This doesn't mean that you have never had problems, but God has knowledge about all of your problems, and he has both shielded you and walked you through those problems. I'm going to read the verses from Psalm 91 in a modern English version instead of the King James, so you can get a comparison. None of this will be on the screen, but I'm going to take certain verses, some of them that have been on the screen in King James, and read them to you from a modern English version, and it might help to make things clearer for you. Psalm 91, verse 4 says, he will spread his wings over you and keep you secure. Verse 5 says you won't need to worry about dangers at night or arrows during the day. Verse 11 says God will command his angels to protect you wherever you go. Verse 14 says, if you love me and truly know who I am, I will rescue you and keep you safe. Verse 15 says, when you are in trouble, call out to me. I will answer and be there to protect and honor you. And verse 16, you will live a long life and see my saving power. So that kind of succinctly tells you exactly what's in that psalm, Psalm 91. And it makes me think of the prophet Elijah, who God protected as he served his nation, as he served his God. So I want to review a little bit about the prophet Elijah. In Jewish history, there was a prophet named Elisha. He protected his king and nation. So enemies tried to capture him because they thought that he knew too much, and they didn't want to have him be able to tell his king where they were going next. So the enemy was Syria. When Elisha's servant saw the enemy preparing to capture Elijah, the servant was afraid and asked Elijah, what shall we do? Elijah told him not to be afraid and asked God to reveal to his servant his own army, protecting them both. So God answered that prayer, and the servant saw God's army, horses and chariots of fire, all around the mountain. God always knew what was happening as he revealed to Elijah what he wanted Elijah to know. And Elijah always knew God's army was protecting him, even if they could not be seen. In your own life, you need to know that God has knowledge of all of your situations, and he understands every crisis that you are in. He will reveal to you whatever you need to know about what is going on. And you probably won't know everything, but God does know the fullness of what's happening to you. And sometimes you may feel that you're in the dark, but God does really know everything. And you need to know that God is with you every step of the way. He will protect you and he will guide you. And if things don't work out the way that you think that they should, It will help you to realize that there is a purpose to everything. God makes good out of everything. Everything that happens in life fits into his plans. And Romans 8:28, it won't be on the screen, but I'm going to read Romans 8:28, which is a very helpful verse. And it says, everything works together for good to those who are the called, according to his purpose. I'll read that again. Everything works together for good to those who are called, according to his purpose. God has everything under control. We're not expected to understand it all. We can't understand it all. We don't know about the battles that go on in the heavenlies over us and how God protects us. But we can relax because God does understand all, and this can give us peace. Now, I'm going to read another verse here. It's not going to be on the screen. It's Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7. And it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind through Christ Jesus. Now, it's kind of a long verse, but I do want to read it again. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind through Christ Jesus. Guarding your heart and your mind means that God will guard your emotions, which are your heart, and your thinking process, which would be your mind. He guards them both. So what this verse actually says, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing a little, is this. It says, don't be afraid. Pray about everything with thanksgiving because God will intervene at the proper time. Make your wishes known to God. And the peace, which will be greater than what you can even imagine, will guard your emotions and your thinking. It means that God knows everything about you. He knows what is happening to you moment by moment, and he will guide you. You have an unseen army protecting you. You don't have to worry about a thing because God has it all under his control. And God will give you profound peace. Now, there is a verse on peace that I want to read, and it won't be on the screen, but this is John 14:27, and it says this. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. I want to read that again. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. So you can relax. God has got you, and he is with you to walk you through whatever storm you happen to be walking through. He will comfort you, he will guide you, and he will protect you. So I will close it here. We'll be doing something else next time. Please join me then.